Well, in a series that has most people huffing and puffing, let alone the players at the end of the day's play, two big inclusions on both sides for Australia, and England has just elevated that a little bit more. Welcome along to the Ashes podcast. Welcome also to Kumar, Sangakkara and Eoin Morg. Before we get into a day's play in this headling test that is going to have a lot of people talking again, let's just talk about the ins and outs, because there was quite a few big ones. Eoin Morgan, Ollie Pope, devastating news that he's out for the series.
Yeah, devastating. The news obviously came through pretty recent, actually. He was sort of packing everything up to make his way to Headingley and went for a scan, and results showed that it was another dislocation of his shoulder, which is unbelievable. That the luck, or lack of luck, that he's had with injuries to his shoulders over the years is pretty terrible, really. He's missed a season and a half in previous occasions, and this one, given the magnitude of it and given the role that he plays in the team, he's absolutely devastated.
Yeah, it certainly is. So one change there. The second change, Josh Tongue. Now, when you look at him, 5 wickets in the first test, Kumar, got Smith twice, got Warner twice, got Usman as well. Some big names, and then all of a sudden misses out today.
Yeah, it could be the way they wanted to balance the side. It could be bowling fitness and managing the loads in terms of injury, as we've seen with Wood. But unfortunately, that's the way it's going to be. I mean, Australia going forward, if Cameron Green is fit, they have a decision to make. Does the Centurions stay on or make way for Cameron Green, the first choice all-rounder, to come back in? So these are critical choices that each side has to make. And even with Ollie Pope's injury, it's forced. It's terrible news for Ollie. I mean, vice-captain as well, and what a great year he's had. It's forced England to make some changes and bring that extra bowler in. So everyone makes do, but all in all, it's set up a great test match.
It certainly has. And the third big change is that no Jimmy Anderson. Only got 2 wickets at Lords in conditions that suited him quite well. You hate to say it, but, you know, does that put him in a precarious situation for the rest of the series?
Yeah, here I personally don't think it does. I think it gives an opportunity to rest him and Josh Tongue in this game and definitely get one, if not 2 of them in for the Old Trafford test match. I think it was essential that they brought Mark Wood into the side. You know, he's obviously had a good day out, which we'll speak about, but just there's been a little bit lacking in the bowling department, and it's probably been the lack of pace, particularly probably at Edgbaston during phases of the game, and then at Lords on a pretty turgid wicket.
Yeah, okay, let's talk about the ins. So Moeen Ali is in. Chris Wokes, wonderful to see him back in after the injuries that he's had. And then Mark Wood, you've mentioned him already. Like, in the commentary box, when he came on for that first spell, he bowled not a ball under 90 miles an hour. And I think both of you guys both said, I'm glad I've retired, because that is serious pace, isn't it, Kumar?
Yeah, serious pace. I mean, I was watching his first over, he was hitting 95 mile an hour. Stark's first over, he barely got up to 88. So
yeah,
that's a massive difference, because we consider Stark to be fast and he works his way into the 90 mile per hour zone. But to average 90 across your spells is just incredible. And add to it that he's just a lovely guy as well. He's not your typical fast bowler, is he? He's always smiling. I spent some time at Durham in the dressing room for a couple of weeks with Woody, and he's just an outstanding guy. And when he bowls, you see that he gives it all. And as Morgs mentioned, just the fact that you have that ability to change up your attack and just go up a notch, not just in terms of his accuracy and pace, but the ability to change plans around him. And it also adds pressure on the batter to then try and score off other bowlers or do something different. Other bowlers come into play as well, as we thought. So, yeah, it is great to watch everyone in the comm box. You can see it in the crowd, which is holding their breath, thinking, what's going on here? It is amazing test cricket.
Things sort of fell their way. So Ben Stokes win the toss, has a bowl on a bit of a green tinge, but the last 5 matches here have been won by the team bowling first. It wasn't just Wood, because Wokes came in, picked up wickets alongside Broad, getting Warner again.
Absolutely,
I hate to say it.
Yeah, I know. And the one benefit you'd say, which looks like a fantastic wicket, there's beautiful carry here. So perhaps, you know, you talk about Warner and Duckett being two obvious candidates, they normally dead bat the ball, play it late, and when it moves around at Lords, it didn't quite carry. Same with Khawaja. Today, bowlers got their reward and created opportunities when they got the edge, and David Warner, was a good ball, came across the stumps, and actually a brilliant catch by Zach Crawley that made to look easy, and sort of from there, it opened up an end to a certain extent until Mark Wood came on. I think Stuart Broad bowled 3 overs in his first spell, and then Mark Wood came in, and just to sum up how quickly he's bowling, the form that Usman Khawaja has been remarkable. He's a fantastic player. The short ball, good, plays everything late. Form of his life, and he's not worked him over, but Usman was laid on the delivery. Yes, it did swing. Yes, it was full, but it is so fast that a guy on top of his game struggled to get it back, which is just, it sums it up nicely how fast he was bowling.
So pressure one end. Steve Smith comes out in his 100th game, gets 22. Little inside edge behind, given out. Reviews. For a guy that has such good touch and good feel, Kumar, you'd think he'd know he got an inside edge.
He loves his batting. Why would he want to walk off on a pitch like that? 100 test as well. He wants to get 100. He looked confused, didn't he? He just looked up and said, I don't think I hit it, and went up for the review, but a healthy inside edge as well. It's just the nature of how... And also, when he bats, he just seems like a guy who just gets lost in batting, that nothing else phases him, and he's so focused. And in the form that he's been in his entire career, well, except maybe for the start, I think he was surprised that he didn't hit it out of the middle either. So he was like, what happened here? How did I nick this one? But what a crucial wicket as well. The Australian, depending on Smith, and Labuschagne really hasn't come to the party as yet. Khawaja, Head has been good. But England needed those breakthroughs, and Broad as always steps up. And then you had everyone along that bowling attack really lifting, especially after the wicket of Marsh on the stroke of tea. And then just basically in the context of the Ashes and in the game, an epic collapse. And engineering it was outstanding. We
won't talk about Australians and burning reviews at Headingley, because that still grates a little bit. So session 1 goes to England, 91 for 4. And they come out after lunch. Probably a little surprised that they didn't go to Wood straight away.
Yeah, we all were in the comm box. Just particularly with the matchups. We know Ben Stokes does a lot of research and planning along with the analysis guys and the head coach. But the short ball plan to Travis Head has been something that they've gone to every game. So in a game where you have a guy who's bowling 95 miles an hour, he's your candidate to bowl short pitch bowling. But they didn't. We did question it, and sort of Travis Head got away a little bit as well, but we're probably possibly surprised at how positive Mitch Marsh was right from the get-go, not taking time to get into his work. First game in this Ashes, I mean, I think it just blew everybody away, and full credit to him. Yes, he was put down early, another simple chance that went to begging, and around a similar time, another chance down the leg side for Travis Head. Johnny Bairstow dropping another catch, and I think England have put down 14 chances in the whole test series so far. That is just really hurting them, because you look back at the Edgbaston test and think if they take their chances there, that it probably is an easier task going into the last day, as opposed to a miracle by Cummins and Lyons. So it's not so much as the complicated stuff as letting England down during that period. It's the very simple stuff. But Mitchell Marsh today, you have to take a hat off to him. He comes in and replaces an unbelievably talented player in Cameron Green and just delivers. It's incredible. You have to take a hat off to it. Not only the method that he used, but how he went about it. I mean, this off-air, Sanga mentioned, throughout the game so far, Cam Green has been a little bit slow and hesitant to go to his aggressive game, which is one of his strengths. Whereas Mitch Marsh actually showed him the way to go today. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens from here. He's
called the Bison for obvious reasons, because he just takes up space. When you think of players that have come out and have a presence, both, yes, there's a physicality about him, But just even that first pull shot off Mark Wood, he really wanted to make a statement, didn't he?
He loves the short ball. He lives on it. I mean, when you do analysis against Mitch Marsh, what you tell the bowlers is just avoid bowling short at the guy. Challenge him on that outside edge, front foot. If you're playing Test cricket, and the fact is that he didn't let the situation get the better of him. He wasn't thinking about, oh, we're 4 wickets down and not in a great position. He just came out and wanted to make a statement, and the short ball is what he's looking for, and he took it on every single time, and not just tried to hit it through the field, he hit it over the field. It used to strengthen the guy as well. I was saying up in the combo, I remember Mitch, when his dad Jeff was coaching Zimbabwe, I think around 2006 or something maybe, in that, and we were there, and he used to warm up with us, used to get him to play football with us, and he was tiny. Yeah. He was tiny. He used to come to dinner and sit with us, the Sri Lankan side. And you look at him now, and he's just a giant of a guy just coming in, and the strength is intimidating. Yeah. He's been lacking a little bit maybe in terms of finesse at Test level, but today just showed what he can really do when he puts his mind to it. He dragged Australia back into a good position, a strong position. Unfortunate to get out before tea, but he was very good.
Yeah, so his last Test match was at the Oval back in 2019. His last Shield game, Red Ball game, was in March. Just, I think, 9 games in the IPL. He hit 100 in the middle session and really wrestled things back for Australia. So big tick for them, for Australia, in terms of winning that second session. Australia were all out for 263 in the third. They lost 6 for 23 in 52 balls. It's been a bit of a state of play throughout this entire series so far, isn't it? Losses of wickets in big chunks.
Absolutely. And just when you think a side is getting further ahead and you're asking both sides to play smart cricket when they're in that situation, and smart cricket can be, I suppose, come across in various different ways, and traditionally it's about spending more time and doing things simply. It's for both teams, when they've had a template of success or a period of play that has worked well, the simplest way forward and the smartest way forward is to continue exactly what they're doing at the rate that they're doing it, not to overcomplicate things like both sides have done, or England in certain instances have felt a little bit of pressure when Pat Cummins as captain and employed different tactics. But the energy and the intensity that Mark Wood brings, regardless of the scoreboard, regardless of who's in or not, creates an uneasiness about the game and an excitement about the game. So, I mean, Ben Stokes must be delighted not only that he's had the day he has today, but to have him at your disposal against a really good Australian team. Yeah, they were all beaming, the English players, when he picked up his 5 for 34 off the back of his 6 for 37 against Australia in the last Ashes Test in Hobart as well. What Pat Cummins wouldn't have been beaming about is, as you mentioned, there's only 3 days between this test. Their bowlers bowled on the last day at Lords. They would have liked an extra day just to put the feet up.
Yeah, the wars of being a bowling captain, isn't it? You have to play every game. Yeah, it's a tough one. I actually thought it wasn't too bad of a toss to lose for Australia. The wicket is hard, doesn't change much, and if you can get ahead with your batters and put a score on the board, that's great for the bowling side. Gives them a little bit more rest as well. He looked a little bit stiff, I thought, in the first 2 overs. He was kind of, his gait was quite stiff, and you can understand why. But again, it's he's highly skilled, isn't he? He just broke into the 2 wickets. So, and especially Brook coming in at number 3, and you're expecting a captain to stand up and lead from the front, and he's done that every single time. He's been under a bit of pressure, not just about his bowling, but
just a little bit,
after what happened at Lords. But the Australians have been very good at putting things behind them and moving on right throughout the history of their cricket. I think when we were at the MCC World Cricket Committee, Pat Cummins came in and had 20 minutes, Morgs, if you remember, and he came across as a very, very impressive guy. Great, seemed to have a lot of substance and character behind it, very strong in his convictions of what he thought was good and right, and he showed his leadership right throughout.
Yeah, he certainly did. He picked up both Duckett for 2, which is important for Australia after Duckett came off back-to-back 50s at Lords, and then Brook, who came up to 3, was out for 3 as well. A little bit of byplay when Joe Root came out and just asked, was that the end of the over? We're going to get a little bit of it now. What did you make of the crowd? I thought the crowd was great today. I sort of think, and we do it in Australia as well, the booing of someone, particularly as Steve Smith in his 100th test, you think, is that needed?
Yeah, well, in my honest opinion, it's not at all. I was disappointed by day 5 at Lord's in the reception that the Australian team were given, particularly in the long room. Not only coming out then, say, after lunch during that period of play, but just it hasn't continued as much here. And I've been a little bit surprised by the crowd here at Headingley. I thought the effect of Lord's would have had a knock-on as to how early they would have turned up this morning, and the level of aggression behind the booing and certain disrespect to very fine cricketers. But I actually think it's been quite timid in many ways, and like Sanga has mentioned, I admire Pat Cummins as a leader. When things are called into question and decisions and integrities are being questioned, you need your leader to stand up, give clarity and direction. And even this week, he's taken a bit of humour and lightheartedness out of it. So I hope that continues, because sometimes in the heat of the moment, both sides can take things a little bit too seriously.
And of course, the man of the moment then also picks up a wicket, because the 100 wasn't enough for Mitch Marsh. He picked up Zach Crawley for 33, which means that both Johnny Bairstow and Joe Root were not out at the end of the day's play, which we've just seen on our screens here. Joe Root, 19 not out. Johnny Bairstow, 1 not out, just the 19 overs for England, 68 for 3. They trail by 195. Predictions for the first session tomorrow morning? What are you expecting?
Yeah, well, I've had a sneak peek at the forecast. The forecast looks brilliant for batting. So I think it's a really good wicket. The ball will continue to move around, but if you can get past that first half an hour, which England will not focus on at all, England will be trying to get runs on the board.
Yeah.
If they go 1 down or 2 down in that first half an hour, it sort of pegs them back, brings Australia right into the game and actually right ahead in the game. But I'm hoping England have 2 good sessions of batting, probably get bowled out and be somewhere past Australia.
And our first glimpse in the Ashes of Todd Murphy.
Yeah, he's a good bowler actually. I've watched him play a couple of test matches. He's very, very good. So he's not exactly a second choice replacement for Lyon. Lyon's just been so amazing that he's kept Todd Murphy out. But yeah, I would love to see him bowl on this. He might bowl round the wicket as Lyon did as well, on a wicket that's not assisting turn, to try and get that LBW or that outside edge in. Yes, a lot to look forward to tomorrow, and I think the way this test match and the series is set up, it's going to be a cracker.